Hello there, Chad Weber here, and today we're going to talk about creating a lead engine, how to use online mortgage ads for mass lead generation in 2016. And in this particular video, we're going to tackle some pretty big questions. Okay, so I want to talk to you about a couple of things that have been on many loan officers' minds, especially as you start to contemplate your marketing plan for a new year. Now tell me if any of these sound familiar. Have you ever asked yourself, why do others succeed but not me? I can't begin to tell you just how often I've heard loan officers describe other people who are just simply not as good as they are when it comes to sales. They may not be as good of a salesperson. They may not be as good at marketing. Heck, they may not even be as good of a loan officer, but yet they're earning more. They're bringing in more closings, bigger paychecks, all the things that you want, and you can't figure out why. What are they doing differently? Why are they succeeding and I'm not? Or what skills or processes or marketing am I going to need to reach my goals? Or how about this one? I know what I need to be doing in general, but I just can't seem to do it. I can't seem to stick with it. I get started, but I don't finish. Or what are others, in this case, top producers? What are they doing differently than all the other loan officers around them? What makes them a top producer? Because we can't just chalk that up to luck anymore, guys. We can't just chalk that up to the marketplace either. The real big question of all, how can I know what is going to work and what isn't, so I'm not wasting my time on things or buying things or implementing things that just don't work? We're going to cover all of those things and more. Here's what I'm going to show you in today's video. Now, I have a whole series of videos for you guys in the coming week and a half, but today I'm going to talk about the challenges that are stopping you when it comes to creating your lead engine, why your lead engine just isn't performing as well as it could be. And then I'm going to show you some things that I'm pretty darn sure you've never done with Facebook before. And try as I might, I've been unable to find anyone else teaching these strategies to loan officers. So yeah, I'm going to actually show you guys some Facebook lead generation techniques that are brand spanking new. So they're fresh off the press, ready for 2016. Let's get started, guys. All right, so I promised you a quick introduction. If this is your first video tutorial with me, my name is Chad Weber, and I'm a mortgage lead generation specialist. I'm a web developer, software developer, web design, all that fun stuff, guys. The bottom line is I've been doing this as far as teaching loan officers and providing from A to Z lead generation strategies for loan officers since 2005. Now, I've been a loan officer. I've run my own mortgage shop. I've been doing this in general in the mortgage industry for roughly 20 years now. And I'm going to show you in this mini course how an effective lead generation strategy works. Because you know what? The old way of doing things just isn't working anymore. When I say old way, guys, I mean even just something in the past 12 to 16 months flat out are not working as well as they should be. Now, lead generation in general, this is just my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with me, but lead generation in general is probably the single most annoying part of being a loan officer to most loan officers. Now, me personally, I love marketing. I love lead generation. To me, it's fun. But for most loan officers, you know what? They find it annoying. They just want to be a loan officer. They just want to close their loans. So if your face looks anything like mine here in this picture, you know what? You need to hear what we have to say. And this little quote I have at the bottom of the screen, I'm not dumb, so why can't I seem to make this stuff work? I actually copied that from an email I got about 30 to 40 days ago. I just felt that it really reflected the general feeling amongst most loan officers, that frustration that, you know what, I'm a smart person, but I can't seem to make this stuff work. What's wrong? Well, I'm going to show you what's wrong, guys, and it's not necessarily your fault. Here's the thing. I want you guys to really, really think about what I'm going to show you here. And that is that 2016 could be the single most difficult year yet to capture leads online. It's not because of what you're doing specifically, but rather we have to look at some of the events that are taking place because the web in general is evolving far more rapidly than it ever has before. Let's look at something here. Facebook ads. Now, how many of you guys have seen people spouting how great Facebook ads work for loan officers and in the real estate industry altogether. You've all watched the videos, you've been on the webinars, you know that Facebook ads have been a wonderful tool. However, did you also know that just in the past 12 months, average ad cost on Facebook has risen 54%. 54% in the past 12 months, and it's continuing to rise. Now, a lot of that is because of just how many people have been onboarding onto the platform, just going, wow, you're right, this is a great platform. So I'm going to start using it. But what happens when everybody starts using something? Costs go up. If we went back to the early 2000s for Google AdWords, you could run ads and capture leads and get clicks for about 15 cents. 10 to 15 cents a click. Now, in the mortgage industry, you're lucky if you pay anything less than $12 per click. $12 a click, and in some states, as much as $30 to $40 a click. 30 to 40 bucks just for one click, when you used to be able to get it for pennies. Okay, Facebook's on a similar trajectory now. Doesn't mean it's anywhere near that cost yet. You can still get less than $1 per click. You can even get it down to 30, 25 cents a click, but only if you know what you're doing. But overall costs for your average loan officer and your average marketer in general has risen 54%. Now, the number of companies using online advertising in general is exploding as well. 27% growth in 2015. Now, the number of individuals using the web as an advertising vehicle is rising at 5 times the rate of offline advertising methods. So 27% growth. That's huge. More consumers are using ad blockers than ever before. Now, this is in response to all that extra advertising. That's a lot more pressure on the consumers, on your potential borrowers. So what we've seen is just in the past 12 months, the number of people using ad blockers to block classified ads and banner ads and all these things has risen by 40%. 40% more people downloaded and began using blockers than in the previous 12 months. So can you see how that makes it more difficult? So A, you have higher costs, B, you have more competition, and C, you have the number of people trying to block these messages, the very tools that you're using to get in touch with them, has increased. So yes, it could be your most difficult year yet to capture leads online, but let's talk about the silver lining here. If you know what you're doing, if you know the tools and resources to still reach these people, you can actually spend less and reach more people than you ever have before. So you decide if this is going to be a more difficult year or a better year. So in general, the bottom line is the web is changing, guys. What worked even in the past 12 to 18 months is not necessarily what's going to work now. Okay, the market has been evolving, so you must evolve with it, not against it. We can't work against it and resist the fact that things are changing. Instead, we need to adjust how we get traffic, we need to adjust how we engage with our prospects, and we need to adjust how we differentiate ourselves from our competition, so that way our message is received differently. So the solution, bottom line, guys, is that you absolutely must change your approach and find a way to reach your prospects first. If you can be the first person to get in front of the borrower, statistics have shown the prospect, the borrower is far more likely to use the very first person that they speak to after those initial research phases than they are anyone else. So if you can reach them first, your chances are you're going to get that prospect. You're going to get that loan. If you can approach and engage your prospects with content instead of with blatant in-your-face advertising, and if you can find a way to follow your prospects throughout their decision-making process, then you know what, guys? This is going to be a very, very nice year for you. These are the solutions to the problems that we just discussed, and today I'm going to show you what to do about it. I'm going to show you some really cool techniques and some things that I'm pretty darn certain no one else has shown you on Facebook. So let's get right to it, guys. Let's head right on over to Facebook. We're going to roll our sleeves up, and I'm going to show you some really cool marketing strategies. The first strategy that I'm going to show you is what's known as gender parting. Now, I know that's a goofy sounding name, And you can let your imagination run wild with what you think that means, but I'm going to tell you what it means. Okay, so let's actually exit this slide here. We'll come back to it, and let's get on Facebook right now. Okay, so I'm heading over to my Facebook profile. I'm going to go straight to my my Facebook Ads Manager. Let's just give that a moment or two to open here. All right, so our Ads Manager is loading right now. Let's pretend that we're going to create an ad. So I'm going to do a send people to my website style ad here. I'm just going to select a random URL here because it's not an active ad. Okay, so the first technique that I'm going to show you, and this is a really, really cool technique, guys, and I know it may seem simple, but this is a way to drive your costs down and actually boost your lead capture rate. Okay, so as I'm going into my Facebook Ads Manager and I'm ready to set my ads, in general, let me show you what the typical person does, and then I'm going to show you what the right way to implement this is. So let's say that I come in here and I say, all right, I want to run ads in San Diego, California. We're just going to use that as our example here. And I'm doing this in a 25-mile radius, and I see that I have 1.5 million people to market to. Now, what your typical trainer is telling you to do is just to scroll on down and move to your demographics and whatnot, and they're having you skip right over this section right here that I'm circling with my cursor. I'm telling you to stop doing that, and I want you to do what we call gender parting. So, for example, in this ad, I'm going to select not all genders, but either or. I'm going to select men or women. So in this case, let's say that I chose just women. So now I can see that I have a potential reach of 770,000 people to see my ads. And then I'm going to go along here and create my ad specifically for women. Okay, now we're not done yet. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to click to clone my ad. Facebook has a feature that allows you to duplicate all of your settings for the previous ad, so that way you don't have to recreate everything from scratch if your ad's going to be very, very similar. So I'm going to select to create an ad just like the last one, but this time I'm going to go through and select men only. And now I have 730,000 potential people to target, and then I'm just going to activate my ad. Everything else minus my pictures and maybe my headline are going to be exactly the same. Why? Why did we just do this? What are we hoping to accomplish here? Well, to answer that, let's go back to our slide and let's take a look at what we call gender parting. Okay, so let me ask you guys a quick question. Why do you think demographics are so darn important to advertising agencies? Because everybody's not a carbon copy of each other, right? So do you think that men respond exactly the same to the exact same types of ads as women? Well, I can tell you for a fact that they do not. In fact, during my own testing, take a look at this. My own tests have shown that I pay 12% less for my clicks and I generate 9% more leads when I split my ads rather than lumping the two genders together. Because by creating two separate variations of my ad, I can slightly customize one ad for women and the other ad for men. Now, there's a second benefit to this. See, let's say that I run one particular ad that's working well for one gender but not for the other. As we well know, Facebook decides how much you're going to pay on a cost per click basis based on what's called your CTR rate. That's your click-through ratio. The higher your click-through ratio, the less you get charged per click. The lower your click-through ratio, the opposite is true. The more you're going to be charged. So let's say that I have 9.87% females responding to my ad, but only 9.2% males. Now, if I lump them all together, my overall click-through rate that's blended together drops. And now I'm going to pay more for an ad that I could be paying less for. In some cases, substantially more, up to 40, 50, 60 cents more per click. That might not sound like a lot, but when you're generating hundreds or even thousands of clicks, it adds up, doesn't it? All right. So by splitting the two, I can focus on what works for each gender group and lower my costs. So again, we call that gender parting, and it doesn't take a lot of your time, guys. so you should be doing it. So don't let anyone else tell you that you need to just click all and just run the same ad to both genders. It doesn't work as well as separating and targeting. Anytime we can get more personal and more specific with our audience, good things happen, right? Specificity beats overall vagaries any day of the week. Okay, so let's talk about our next technique here. It's what I like to call day parting. Now this is very similar to our last technique, and see, I promised you guys just easy little things, easy little tweaks that have big impacts and results on what it is that you're doing. So day parting is just like gender parting, except we're applying it to the time frame that we're running our ads. Let's go back to Facebook here real quick. Okay, so we're back at our Facebook ads dashboard, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the section that says how much do you want to spend. Now underneath the budget, we're seeing my schedule option here. And by default, Facebook has run my ad set continuously starting today. But I'm going to select set a start and end date. I don't want my ad to just run randomly for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or whatever the case may be. Instead, I want to snipe with my marketing here. I want to get really specific. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and let's say I want this thing to run, January 4th through January 7th. So I'm only going to run it for a couple of days because that's all I need. If I'm performing well with my ads, I don't need to just keep running this ad over and over again. I can run it 2 or 3 days out of the week and be done with it. I'll capture enough leads to keep me busy for the next week. However, just as we discussed when it comes to gender, that all groups don't perform the same applies to time frames. So let me give you an example. When I ran my ads, what I found is that I had a dead zone somewhere around about 2 o'clock to about 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening. And what was happening was during that time frame, I was getting a lot of showings but very few clicks. Okay, so Facebook was still running my ad, but a lot of people are wrapping up at work, or maybe they're stuck in traffic, rush hour on their way home. They have their reasons, but for whatever reasons, my clicks really dropped during that time frame. Now earlier I mentioned to you that Facebook calculates how much you're going to pay for an ad based off of what they call your CTR, click-through ratio, the percentage of individuals that see your ad versus click on your ad. The higher that ratio, the less you pay. So you guys are really smart folks. I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this. If I allow my ad to run 24 hours a day, and there are dead spots, dead periods where my CTR rate drops, it's not performing well, what do you think that does to my overall costs? Exactly, it bumps my cost up, something I don't want to have happen. So the smart thing that we should do, folks, is we run our ads for about a week and in some cases 2 weeks. And we run them for 24 hours. And then what we do is we pull up our statistics. If we go back to our Facebook dashboard, Facebook's going to show us how well these ads are performing, and we can even see different times of the day when our CTR rate is dropping. And it's the same thing with my landing pages. I'm going to log into my Facebook ads dashboard, and I'm also going to go to my landing page metrics, and I'm going to see what times of the day are my leads coming over, and I'm going to use my Facebook dashboard to see, let's just close this down here, to see when my costs are going up and when my costs are going down, because I can come in here now. This is just a dummy account, so I'm looking at my amount spent as 0. However, if I were running an ad at this time, I would be able to see during certain times of the day, these costs actually go up, my average cost per click. And I'm going to see that my CTR is going down. So if I can sit back and look at these numbers for anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks, I'm going to identify the slow periods. And within Facebook, you have the option by clicking over here on your ads, you can turn ads on and you can turn ads off by toggling them here, right? So I will come in and I will pause or shut off or make inactive my ads for about a 4 to 5 hour period when I know my CTR rate's going to drop. Now, yes, there's software out there that can do this for you automatically. However, I'm not pushing for you guys to spend money when you don't know, when you don't feel comfortable with something just yet. So go in and do it manually a couple of times before you go and purchase something to automate the process, because I want you to make sure that you got it down pat and you figured out your time zones before you start spending money on software. Right? So once you've got it down pat and you know, hey, you know what, I've lowered my costs and I've boosted my lead production, then by all means go out and buy some automated software. I'll even tell you where to get it and what I recommend and what I use. Then you won't have to touch it ever again. However, in the meantime, just use a simple little toggle switch. It's going to take you like 30 seconds to go in and turn something off, and then 30 seconds when it's time for your ads to come back on to turn them back on, and you're going to save yourself money. You're going to outperform your competitors because they're not taking the time to do this. I guarantee it. Okay, so recapping your day parting, schedule your ads to run for about 72-hour periods. I don't run my ads for more than 3 days, oftentimes only 1 or 2 days when I really have a great program that's just pulling in the leads, and that's all I need. Now, I want you to review your results for patterns at the end of about a 1 to 2 week period of running your ads in 72-hour increments, and then I want you to identify those patterns and pause your ads during the slow times. Now, if you have to set yourself a reminder to remember to turn them back in, please do so. It's worth the effort. And then I want you to monitor your click-through ratio within your Facebook ads dashboard for an increase. If you're not increasing your CTR, then chances are you haven't figured out the proper time frames to pause and run your ads. So if you need more time to observe and monitor for patterns, then by all means do so. I'm saying 1 to 2 weeks just because that's usually what I do. But if you need longer to really identify a good solid pattern, then do so. Guys, this is well worth the time and effort. And it's really not going to take much time at all because really all you're doing is looking at numbers and then turning your ads on and turning them off accordingly. Okay, so now let's talk about our next quick technique. Again, something else that a lot of people aren't doing, and most people I'm assuming either aren't aware that this exists or nobody's really taught them the method. It's called zip code splitting. And again, we're just in line with our gender splitting and our day parting. This time it's zip codes. So the exact same technique, folks, just with some tweaks. Let's go into our ads platform within Facebook. We're going to click to create an ad. Click to send people to my website again. I'm going to create a dummy. Now I'm going to set up my audience. Now zip code, and I know I use the word zip code, but this can apply to city as well. Now most people tell you that you're just going to come in here and we're going to start throwing in a bunch of cities. Okay, San Diego, and then I might even bump this up to about a 50-mile radius or so, and then I might start throwing in a bunch of other cities around here. We got Oceanside, Escondido, and all these surrounding regions. So I might come along here and just add a bunch of cities, or I might just throw in a bunch of zip codes. Now, in the past, that might have worked when the costs were much lower on Facebook, but with rising costs, we need to get very specific. And just like gender, what you're generally going to find is different areas respond well, different areas don't respond quite so well. I know just within my immediate vicinity, I know there are entire subdivisions that nobody's buying in. Everybody's avoiding. And then yet there's other subdivisions just 3 or 4 miles away that are so hot they just can't seem to keep inventory. All right, people are just buying. So if you just go and target an entire city, and let's say even just 1 or 2 zip codes in that area are flatlining right now as far as sales, guess what you're doing? Guess what you're reducing? Your CTR rate yet again. So just as we cloned our ads earlier with gender, male versus female, and then ran separate ads to each, I want you to do the same thing with specific areas in your target vicinity. Don't just target an entire city and blanket the whole thing and treat the whole thing as if it's all the same. Clone your ads. Have one ad for this zip code and maybe another ad for that zip code and then another ad for that zip code. Pick out the primary zip codes you want to target and then sit back and watch your results again for a week or two, and what you'll generally find, more often than not, what you'll find is that there are a couple of areas that just flatline. Had you lumped them all together, you would have been artificially reducing your own CTR rate and results, and thus paying more for less. Because again, the lower your ad performs from a CTR rate, it's not just costs that Facebook adjusts. Facebook will also adjust how often they show your ad, and they'll show it to fewer people because there's other people running ads to that same target segment that are performing well. So given a choice between showing them your ad or someone else's ad who has a higher CTR rate, who do you think Facebook's going to show? Who are they going to choose? Who's the winner? So you could even be paying more but being shown less, and now your volume suffers and your pocketbook suffers. So we're going to split our zip codes or target cities. Don't lump them all together. Just clone your ads. Whenever you run an ad, Facebook gives you an option to click a button that says create an ad just like this. Create an ad like this. And what that does is it clones it. So it only takes a couple moments to just create multiple versions of the same ad, just with different zip codes. Give them separate names so you can come in here and view your Facebook Ads Manager results and metrics and identify, hey, this zip code I need to stop targeting. Let's just turn those off altogether. And oh, here's 3 hot areas. Let's keep running those. Cost down, results up. 3 simple tweaks I've given you so far, guys. How many of you, raise of hands, even though I can't see you, how many of you guys knew you should be doing this? How many folks have been teaching you to split your zip codes, split the target gender, and split the times a day, or separate your times a day versus turning on, turning off in order to reduce your costs? Okay, this is a very scientific way of approaching your marketing. We're going to go back to our slides now. So again, clone your ad sets to separate by either zip or city. I prefer zip code, but if you're in a real big hurry, even just city, it's better than nothing. Okay, but if you're in a large city, I recommend you cut that down to zip code. If you're in a small city, okay, then maybe just separate them by cities. Customize each ad set and landing page with city-specific messages. All right, so if you want better results, make sure that you speak directly to them. So my landing page and my ad, if I'm running an ad in this city versus that city, I'm going to mention them by name because that specificity boosts my click-through rate. And I want you to review for results and then adjust your calls to action and which ads get turned on and which get turned off accordingly. Okay, and then for our next technique, age splitting. Oh, imagine that. Yet another tweaked variant of an ad set. In this case, I'm sure I don't need to go back to Facebook to show you because you already get the gist now, guys. Don't treat all the age brackets the same, just like gender, just like city. Not everybody responds the same. Different age groups often have different goals. When I'm targeting the younger age groups, my ads are generally going to be speaking to them as if they're first-time home buyers. Versus the higher ages or even higher income brackets, I'm generally going to be targeting more luxury homes, right? Higher end homes and so forth. They have completely different needs, completely different concerns, and in many cases, different loan types. All right, so I'm going to clone my ad sets by separate age groups. Now, you generally don't need to do huge groups of ages. Generally speaking, I'll do, in my case, if I'm going to do 25 years of age, I'll generally do between 25 and 30 will be age bracket number 1, and then 30 to 40 will be age bracket number 2, and then 40 to 50, and then 50 plus is generally what I do. Now, it's up to you if you want to split yours up differently. You know your market. I don't. I'm not doing loans in your area. You are, so you see what individuals in these different age brackets are generally going for. If you say they're all the same, then you know what? You're not paying enough attention to your market, guys. That doesn't cut it because there are differences in age brackets, so we need to adjust for those differences. Again, this will result in a much improved CTR rate by age splitting. Okay, so our recap, guys, is gender splitting, our day parting, city or zip splitting, and then age bracket splitting. We have 4 simple techniques I've showed you today. You don't even have to spend any money over what you're spending now. In fact, I've probably saved you a whole chunk of change there. just by making these tweaks, not to mention all the extra leads you're going to capture from the improved showings that Facebook will give you for boosting your CTR rate and paying attention to these little details that most people ignore. Now, as I mentioned, this is a mini series, okay? I have a bunch of videos coming up here in the coming weeks, and what we're going to be talking about is creating that lead engine. I'm going to show you some really cool traffic sources that you probably don't even know exist. Let's go to my main page here. So you should be looking at this page here where you're watching the video. If you scroll down beneath the video player, what you're going to see is right now, here's what you're watching, video number 1, your lead engine. Now these others do not activate until they're ready to release, so you can come and click on them all you want, but they're not going to play the videos because they're not ready just yet, all right? Depending, well, I take that back. It depends on when you're watching this video, okay? But video number 2 is high value traffic. I'm going to show you guys a couple other places to get traffic other than just Facebook, okay? Same thing with video number 3, secret lead sources. I'm going to show you some sites that you probably don't even know exist. You probably never even heard of before. So we're not even going to be talking about things like Yahoo, Google, YouTube, and whatnot. I'm going to show you some things that you've never even seen before. Secret lead sources. So remember, we talked about one of the big challenges being costs going up because everybody's hopping on board a lot of these advertising engines. Well, guess what? If you go where they're not, where they haven't even figured out that these things exist yet, your costs are going to stay very, very low. And then finally, video number 4, the master plan. How do you weave this all together and start turning this into just a wonderful, reliable lead engine? Now, underneath these videos, these upcoming videos, we have our comment section. Now, if you're logged into your Facebook, you can comment directly using Facebook. So guys, I just ask, please leave me a note. Just leave me a nice little message there. You can use it to ask your questions or make your comment. Just give me some feedback, all right? I adjust what I'm teaching because I don't script these calls. I just teach you based off of the knowledge I have rolling around inside my head, okay? So I modify this based on your comments and based on your questions. I'm going to be monitoring those comments down below, so feel free to ask some questions, and I'll do my best to answer your questions as quickly as possible. One other quick thing that I'm going to ask of you is I've recently just set up a fresh profile that's specifically for mortgages only, okay? Because I have several other profiles out there, and a lot of you guys have connected with my actual personal profile, so you really don't get anything out of it. I'm not doing any teaching on my personal profile because I don't intermingle the two, all right? So here is my here's my loan officer mortgage marketing specific profile. I'm going to be posting a lot of updates, a lot of resources, and if you really want to stay up to date with what's going on in the world of mortgage marketing, just go to facebook.com/loanmarketingchad. Again, that's facebook.com/loanmarketingchad. So that's going to be your very first and foremost resource, because I post here before I post anywhere else for updates and announcements of what's going on in the world of mortgage marketing and lead generation. All right, so I look forward to connecting with you, and hope that we'll have an opportunity to chat and answer questions and make 2016 your best year yet. All right, so I'll see you in video number 2. Keep an eye on your email, and if you haven't done it yet, go to mortgageadsclub.com. Again, that's mortgageadsclub.com. That's just the main page, so that you can hop on board our early bird list for our website, mortgageadsclub.com, when we deploy and make this new, exciting, pretty much top secret resource available. So this is something unlike anything you've ever seen before. I can't wait to show it to you guys. mortgageadsclub.com. See you in the next video, guys.